What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of World Building with DMDave. I'm DMDave. This time I thought I might source a little bit of our patrons to see kind of what you guys are interested in learning about when it pertains to world building. So I put out a little bit of a survey and I got some responses back pretty quick, and I thought I might start answering them and making a few videos to go along with them while I'm still working on the Amiria stuff. So first of all, our buddy Gavin Felt asked us how to use guilds to propel your narrative. I think that's a pretty good question. So yeah, let's unwrap it. First of all, how do we create a guild? So I want to actually start a document, and I want to kind of create a random guild, mostly just to identify one. I've already got a few with Amiria, but I'd rather start with something fresh, because some of you might be starting with some fresh things, and you might need some good ideas for campaigns. So I'm going to go ahead and create a document, and as usual, I'm going to grab my copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide, which I've got right here. I'm actually going to grab the Player's Handbook too, because I've got kind of a funny idea on how I want to do this. So let's go ahead and create a guild. I want to create a random guild. There's really no rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide for creating random guilds, but what there are is you've got backgrounds in your Player's Handbook. So we've got guilds in our Player's Handbook, and actually we can create some or not guilds, backgrounds in our Player's Handbook. We can actually use these to create guilds, which I think would be kind of fun and unique way to do it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pick a random one. I'm going to do this by counting out exactly how many backgrounds there are. I can't remember, but it looks like it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 different backgrounds, and I'm going to find a random dice roller. So any dice roller. Let's see, here's a role-playing dice roller here. So I haven't used this one before, but hopefully it works pretty good. Okay, cool. We'll do 1d13. I'm gonna hit roll, and we got a 4. Okay, so looking at our Player's Handbook, let's go ahead and see which it is. So Acolyte is 1, Charlatans 2, Criminals 3, number 4 is going to be an Entertainer. Okay, so an Entertainment Guild is what we're working with here. So Entertainment Guild. So just like people and characters, an Entertainment Guild is going to have sort of its own quirks and personalities, as well as some bonds. And all we have to do is just kind of adjust things a little bit to kind of figure out what's important to them as a guild. All right, so we've got different routines, so we can actually come up with a subtype of the guild itself. So let's roll something random for that as well. So another D10. We got a 10, which is a Tumblr's Guild. All right, so Tumblr's Guild, kind of weird, but whatever, we're going to go with it. And suggested characteristics. Actually, let's skip the personality traits, because I don't think those are super relevant for this. But let's go ahead and go into ideals, which will tell us what is important to this guild. The entertainment ideal roll has a D6, so we'll roll 6, and we're going to get a honesty, which says art should reflect the soul, should come from within and reveal who we truly are. So we're just going to copy that down. Honesty, art should reflect the soul. It should come from within and reveal who we really are. Okay, so that is our guild's chief ideal. Let's see, should we do bonds? No, I don't think bonds are really that necessary. I don't think a flaw is, but I think we've got, our Tumblr's Guild, that's art, or their particular art should reflect the soul, should come from within and reveal who we really are. So this is the motivating force that's going to drive it. And then within this guild, we're going to have individual NPCs. So let's go ahead and come up with a guild master. We might as well come up with a name for it too. So since it's a Tumblr's Guild, let's see if we got a circus name generator. on fantasy name generators, which we do, of course. FantasyNameGenerators.com has one for everything. So here, the Dream Circus. That could be the name of our guild. So Tumblr's guild will be the Dream Circus. Okay. And remember, they're all about art reflecting the soul. They could be of any alignment, so that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and make a guild master, with which our PCs, probably those more into like tumbling, would do, but there's maybe some reason that they would have some sort of influence on the world. This is starting to kind of shape up the kind of idea, like the types of adventures like these folks would want to send you on. Like, what kind of things would a Tumblr's guild who believes that art reflecting the soul is important, and you've kind of created like sort of a colorful guild now on the sense, some interesting adventures, frankly. So already we're figuring out a way to propel the narrative just by the random things that we've rolled. Let's come up with a guild master. We're gonna look at a patron side of this. We can just roll randomly for an NPC. We'll do a quick male and female. Sorry to be binary, but so we're gonna do a female guild leader. Let's see, let's use a doppelganger name. Because those always come up with some cool names that kind of would go well. So Nil's our guild leader. Nil, appearance. So if we go to chapter 4 in our DM's guide, we've got different stuff to create kind of random NPCs. So let's go ahead and do that. Like I said, if you followed this, you know that I don't like to overthink too much. I like random rolls to kind of tell me what to do. She's missing teeth. Lovely. Missing teeth. Okay. That's her most distinctive appearance. So there's maybe a story there. We're going to go ahead and give her some abilities. So that's 2d6 rolls to tell us what her best and worst abilities are. 2 is dexterity. Well, that makes sense. And then what's her worst? Her worst is intelligence. So she's missing teeth, very dexterous, low intelligence. All right. And like I said, this is all coming through random rolls to create our guilds and create our patrons to help us understand what is important to this Tumblr's guild, the Dream Circus. Next up, we need to come up with their talents. I want to roll randomly for this. Obviously, she should be some sort of tumbler, since that is the point of the Dream Circus. But she's an expert dart thrower and rock skipper. This is getting really cool now. So expert dart thrower. I'm seeing kind of like one of those people who has like one of those big wheels that they spin and throw daggers at it, like while the person's blindfolded to it. I think that's pretty cool. Mannerisms. And again, we're creating this NPC because this is going to be the patron who is the one that's going to propel people in an adventure. So it's one thing to have the guild, which kind of identifies the broad concept of the quest givers, but this is also going to help us understand who the person is and why she does the things that she does. Nil does. Let's see, her mannerisms. 16. She chews something. maybe she's always eating cotton candy. That's why she has no teeth. Constantly chews something. Then her interaction traits, we got a 3. She's blustering. I think blustering, I always forget what blustering means. Loud and aggressive. Okay, so she's blustering, loud, aggressive. Really interesting character we're coming up with. Kind of a cartoon, but you know what, that's okay. Remember, this is D&D. We're not trying to win an Oscar for screenplay. And then her ideals, we don't really have an alignment for what she would be. Remember, we said any alignment, so why don't I just roll a d6 and pick one that screw it. Let's we've got 6 different tables here. I'm gonna roll a d6 to figure out which of the tables it is. Now will be her core alignment, and I'm gonna go we'll go left to right, up and down. 1, so she's good, and her good ideal is that she is into self-sacrifice. So self-sacrifice. she would self-sacrifice in order to have art reflect her soul. And then bonds, let's figure out her bonds, what's important to Nil here. Loyal to benefactor, patron, or employer. Loyal to her benefactor, patron, or employer. Maybe some, like the owner-operator of the circus, who he's not actually the patron, she's kind of like the one getting everything done, but she's very loyal to them. And then her flaw or secret will help us identify her a little bit more. She's prone to rage. Okay, and that makes sense because she's blustering already. Alright, so now we know we have an entertainment guild, Tumblr's Guild to be specific, called the Dream Circus. Their main ideal is honesty, that art should reflect the soul. So I'm seeing kind of like an interesting kind of almost fey-like Cirque du Soleil here, but maybe like a little bit more like hillbilly based on their leader Nil. Nil is quite the character, even though she's good, and we'll just go ahead and say neutral good. Neutral good, and I'm not sure what her thing is. I mean, she could be a doppelganger for all we know, because doppelgangers have like an 18 intelligence. So, and I pulled her name from that. She's an expert dart thrower, and she's constantly chewing something. She's blustering, loud, and aggressive, but she would self-sacrifice herself on behalf of her benefactor, who's likely some sort of artist themselves. Now, when we've got this information here that we want to propel into the narrative, one, we came up with a random adventure, and let's say like this entertainment guild is like the one that's hiring the characters all the time to go doing stuff. The Dream Circus. Let's say they sent you on to a location to do something. And the reason is going to be a d20 roll. So let's roll 1d20. So if you look on chapter 3, under creating adventures, under adventure types, you have dungeon goals and wilderness goals, and also other goals. And then you can do event-based adventures, which are also part of that same chapter. But let's just make it simple. Do some dungeon goals. It's a 1d20 roll. We got a 6, which is retrieve a stolen item hidden in a dungeon. So we're already building our adventure hook. So Nil sends the characters to retrieve a stolen item hidden in the dungeon. Okay. The next thing that we want to do, that's the goal, the party. We've already identified important NPC who Nil is, but let's also figure out who this villain is that stole from Nil, and potentially her benefactor who's important to her, a fae with a mysterious goal. Hey, that's pretty cool. A fae with a mysterious goal stole from the Dream Circus. Okay, and maybe the fae was actually a member of the Dream Circus. I think that'd be pretty cool. We'll figure out some things about this fae in a minute. We know our patron, that's going to be Nil. Let's come up with an ally too. Let's see what we get on that. 1d12. We have a 9, which is some sort of sage, is an ally. Ally is a sage that helps the party. Maybe the sage actually knows something about this specific article, and maybe actually knows how to find the fae. Nil doesn't necessarily know what to do, so the party has to go before they can find like the location of the fae and whatever this dungeon is going to end up being, that we're also going to roll randomly for. Nil sends them to seek out this sage who, again, will have their own NPC stats and stuff like that. The adventure introduction, how the players end up getting involved with the Dream Circus. While traveling to the wilderness, they fall into a sinkhole that opens beneath their feet, dropping them into the adventure location. Okay, kind of interesting. Characters fall into the adventure location. So this will change things a little bit. They're still off to steal a specific item. Maybe we can even have it like this. Maybe they fall into some sort of pit and Nil saves them. Or Nil pulls them out of the pit. Like, they think they're being hunted by this unusual person, and it turns out she's just looking in the same place they are. They fall into this pit. She pulls them out, and she's like, what are you doing out here? Listen, I'm trying to find this person who's stolen something from my troop. Can you help me out? Adventure Climax, let's go ahead and do that as well. 1d12. 10. A threat more powerful than the adventurers appears, destroys the main villain, and then turns its attention on the characters. Alright, so threat more powerful than the villain, who is some sort of mischievous fae. Maybe a satyr or something. That'd be kind of cool, like the goat boy. Maybe some sort of fae dog boy. I mean, we've got, or a blink dog would be. What if a blink dog was a bad guy? That'd be kind of cool. I think blink dogs are like neutral good, but you could still alter it a little bit to go with the story. So we've got our basic story here. Let's go back again through it to kind of like take you along my train of thought. We've got an entertainment guild, Dream Circus. I believe that art should reflect the soul. The guild leader Nil, who may not be the most attractive person in the world, and kind of blustering and uncharismatic, but extremely loyal to her benefactor and would, give her life to protect him. Kind of has like a meet cute with the characters as they fall into kind of a sinkhole that leads to an area. Perhaps the characters are even searching for the same thing, and then Nil offers to give them like information that could potentially help them. Maybe she's even the sage character, and she can fill both of those roles just for simplicity's sake. They're in the dungeon. Nil gives them information. If they're good, like Nil will give them like information on what they're dealing with the Fae, potentially like weaknesses and stuff like that. So not only does she work as a patron, but if the characters can see through her like blustering and angry attitude, they could potentially learn more about what they're dealing with. Finally, let's come up with the villain, and I think that's going to wrap it up for this. I hope this has been informative. I think it was Gavin who was asking how to use guilds to propel the narrative, and as you can see, we've created like a whole new story from random. Like, at no point did I think I'd be talking about a toothless woman running a circus looking for a mischievous fae, but here we are. And this is pretty much how I come up with, when the tank's running dry up here, and I don't really have any good ideas, this is what I do. So let's figure out our villain real quick, and what that is, and how it's going to tie into our narrative, mainly being like I think the biggest thing here is about the beauty and art, which we need to double down on here. Villains have details in chapter 4. They've got schemes and they've got methods. So 1d8 is going to be their scheme, and then I got a 2, which is influence, and there's a subtable for that, which is a d4, which is another 2. Win a contest or a tournament. Okay. So the villain hopes to win a contest or a tournament. Perhaps that is what the villain stole from Nil. Like, they used some sort of magic dagger to make themselves look better than Nil during one of her knife throwing competitions. And it goes against her honesty, right? And she's trying to prove it right. And we could tie in like a whole different story here too, how like it's kind of embarrassed the people there. Let's see here. Their method. So what is the villain's method? Whoever this villain is. A 12 is murder. Yikes. And then a D10 is strangulation or suffocation. Kind of dark, but the villain murdered someone and by suffocating them. Okay, so here's the story that I've got in my head based on all this random bits of information. There was a contest, maybe a knife throwing contest, and the villain cheated some way, which ended up like kind of going against what the Dream Circus believes in, that art is all about honesty, and that's what the villain stole. They stole this contest. The person who is running the event, the ringleader or whatever, like caught the villain, this Fae, in the act of doing it, and the Fae ended up killing them. Now Nils was on hunt, and right when she found their lair, she stumbled into the heroes. She's kind of uncharismatic, blustering, and kind of rude, but if the characters befriend her, she can be something of a help because she knows a thing or two about what she's getting into, and then she sends them on the path to bring this person to justice. But it turns out that this person is potentially working for a threat that's even more dangerous than that. Maybe they made some sort of wish that gave them this power to, never miss or something crazy like that. So you've got like some sort of Fae that can never miss, from their master, and they're collecting gold for them. And then the master gets mad that they've tracked him back, so the master ends up killing them, and then turns their attention to the players. So that's it. That's kind of this crazy, nutty story that we've come up with here, with a circus, a woman without any teeth. Her boss has been killed. She's frustrated. She runs into the characters. They chase the bad guy into some kind of crazy dungeon. The bad guy was collecting like influence in the way of like money for the boss by having this ability to like never miss, which makes for like a really cool bad guy. Can you imagine like having to fight someone who almost never misses? Pretty, you know, like every dagger they threw is like a magic missile. And then yeah, like I think it'd be a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun to write. So I hope this wasn't helpful for you. So I've basically created a guild, the Stream Circus, and what's important to them. They've been cheated. Their master's been killed, and they want the characters. And once the characters, you know, as long as they're cool with Nils, chances are they can maybe travel with these people and get into more adventures and exciting things. You've created like a whole really fascinating concept for an adventure here. Hope this was helpful, as usual. I'm going to try to answer some more of these questions in the next video. So as always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.